Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sagaviryam Bhavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Viddhishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo AVIDYA Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vanshashibhyo Marga Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavarhita Prajnanagana Pratyagato Brahmevasmi Sarvopaplavarhita Prajnanagana Pratyagato Brahmasmi. Om Narayanam Padmam Vasishtam Sakritim Jagatodasarasaranja Vyasam Sukam Bodhabalam Mahatam Govindayodim Namathasasyam Sri Sankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadam Chahastamaratam Shishyam Tantodagam Vartiyagaram Swanandam Anyan Asmat Guru Santadamanasosmi Shruti Smriti Puranana Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram 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 Shankaracharyam Keshavam Padayanam Suprabhashyakto Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavyapta Dehaya Sri Sakshimamurtaye Namah. We are in 36. In the previous 2 or 3 slokas, we were trying to understand the nature of the individual self. Now in verse number 36, the nature of that or Brahman. Then that Brahman, which is represented by the term that, indicated by the term that. In the Mahavakya, that thou art. That word. That now are described the nature of that or Brahman and its identity with thou, you. That is the individual soul. Nitya Shuddha Vimuktaigam Agandanandam Advayam Satyam Jnanam Anandam Yatparam Brahma Ahameva Tat. I am verily that Supreme Brahman which is eternal, stainless and free. I am that which is one, indivisible, non-dual, and which is of the nature of bliss, truth, knowledge and infinity. Ananda, Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam Anandam is bliss. Infinity is, in Sanskrit, it is Anantam, into eternity. The identity of the individual self with the Supreme Self. Again, they are not two things, although described as though two. First they describe the individual self, and then they describe the Supreme Self, and then they say they are two. But you have to understand that we are not equating two objects here. First describing one object and describing another object, and then telling that both are one. It is not that. It would seem like that. For the beginners, they may think how this individual self can become the universal self. I am a small man. God is big, so great. How can I be God? That has already been explained in the previous verses when we discussed the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is a sentence of instruction. It is said by the master to the disciple. You are that. You are that. And we have to understand not that you are that, but as I am that. Don't go on repeating you are that, you are that. Repeat I am that, I am that. Aham Brahmasmi is the sentence. Yeah. The commentator here, the note given here says, three kinds of division or distinction are noticed in material objects, in sense objects, whatever we perceive through the senses, they are the sense objects. And there are three kinds of division. They can be divided into three, or distinction. The distinction that marks one species from another species. Such as between a horse and a cow. Horse is one species, cow is another species. They are different. You can understand that. Then another kind of distinction is between two members of the same species, as between a red and white horse. A red horse and a white horse. The two belong to the same species, but still they are different in color, in size, in many other aspects. Both are horses, it is true, but still there is difference. Then the third class of difference is the distinction between the different parts of one thing, such as between the head, tail, the legs, etc. of a horse. So three kinds of distinctions are there in objects, in limited objects. One is difference in species, the other is difference in the same species, difference between two objects, and the third one is the difference in the same object among the limbs or parts of that object. But none of these distinctions can be in the self, in Brahman, or in the Atma. No division or distinction of any kind is possible in the self, which is the pure consciousness. So no object can be that. If you consider them as objects, there cannot be the self. But self is present there. We are to note that, we are to understand that, leaving off the names and forms, we have to concentrate on the self, which has none of these three kinds of differences. Because it is one without a second. There is nothing other to it. It is the infinite being, the eternal being. It is partless, limbless, the whole, the indivisible whole, and homogeneous consciousness, wherein it is not possible to find any kind of distinction or difference. Thus, that self am I. That Brahman am I. The I is not this body, mind, intellect. We have seen so many times in the previous classes that the I who exists all the 24 hours of the day cannot be this body, cannot be this mind, cannot be this intellect or ego. This body, this mind, intellect exists only in the waking state. In the dream state, we have got another body, another mind, another intellect. And in the deep sleep state, no body, no mind. But we all exist in all the three states. What is that which exists in all the three states cannot be the body or mind. You follow this argument, simple argument. Yeah. And that is the pure consciousness. It is that pure consciousness that appears to be this body, mind, intellect, ego, and perhaps the whole universe. That consciousness can do it. It is omnipotent. Another name for that consciousness is God. God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, we say. It cannot be the limited body. Or on the other hand, the other aspect, the other side of it is, it being infinite, there cannot be anything outside it or different from it. Where is the place for the world? No. Where is the place for the objects? Even for the subject. There are different names given to that same consciousness. Remember the example of the dusk and the wood. You remember? Every day I am telling you, because the desk is very near me, and you can see it. Desk, bench, chair, etc. are different names given to the one object called wood. Similarly here, any object in this world, including the subject, that are in this big universe, in this great creation, all are different names given to that one pure consciousness. It can appear as in different forms. Even as wood can appear in different forms and with different names. It's a very gross example, of course. Still, it will help you to understand the truth. That uniform, homogeneous, subtler than the subtlest consciousness assumes the form of the world of objects, assumes the form of division, separation, action. Even all activities are that. Being and doing, they are not different. They are different names and forms of the same consciousness. Yes. The knowledge of the identity of that with this self, of that infinite being with the self in each one of us, when intensified by long reflection, destroys ignorance and its effects. This has to be understood intellectually. Then you have to reflect over it and meditate over it. When in this knowledge of the identity, when intensified by reflection and meditation, manana and nididhyasana, destroys ignorance and its effects. What are the effects of ignorance? The experience of happiness and unhappiness. Yes. Experience of duality. The pains and miseries of life. These will disappear. The next verse says, Evam nirandara abhyasta brahmaivasmi iti vasana haradi avidya vikshepad rogad iva rasayanam. The impression or the knowledge of I am Brahman, I am that, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that I am. That knowledge, the impression of that in the mind, in the intellect, thus created by uninterrupted reflection and meditation, destroys ignorance and its distractions, just as medicine destroys diseases. This medicine which you are taking to take is a high potency. It destroys all diseases. Yes. Once for all, it destroys. Ordinary medicines can destroy only particular disease. One medicine can destroy only one disease. But this medicine, if taken, destroys all diseases at one stroke. Yes. How it destroys, you know? You have thought about it? Even in the case of the medicine and the disease, the disease is a foreign matter or something not natural to the body. The nature of the body is health. Natural state of the body is to be healthy. But something called a disease covers it. And that is removed. That is all. You are not bringing back the health. The health is already there. The health is the usual nature of the body. Something as though covers, called the disease, and that is removed. Something like that happens here also. Here, our real nature is the infinite self. Something called ignorance, the disease of ignorance, as though covers it. It cannot cover. What can cover the infinite being? Nothing can cover it. But somehow, in our ignorance, we can use that word, this is the only word. Through ignorance, we think the truth is veiled from us. And we want to realize the truth. We want to see the truth. We want to remove the ignorance. And this medicine of Vedantic knowledge, that Aham Brahmasmi, I am that I am, or that identity of the Atman with the Supreme Self, reveals to you the truth that there is no ignorance. It does not reveal the Atman or Brahman. It destroys as though the ignorance by telling you, by convincing you that all along there is no ignorance here. Yes. This is figuratively called a destruction of ignorance. If there were ignorance, then we could destroy it. But there is no ignorance, because ignorance could not exist in the infinite being. How can there be ignorance? How can there be darkness in the sun? It destroys the ignorance is a figurative expression, and the meaning is that you discover that there is no ignorance here. You discover all this is the truth, absolute truth. You can call it the manifestation of that absolute truth. The manifestation cannot be different from the original, that which manifests. The next verse says, Vivikta desha asino virago vijitendriyaha bhavayed egam atmanam tam anandam ananyadhihi. Yogic disciplines for the purpose of creating the impression of identity is being given here. Some discipline is necessary in the early stages to understand this truth. He gives, in this verse says, sitting in a solitary place, freeing the mind from desires and controlling the senses, meditate with unswerving attention on the infinite Atman, which is one without a second. The Lord or the Self or Brahman, and the essence of all that exists are the same as the Self. Or the Atman, what is indicated by the term Atman. Similarly, what is indicated by the term Brahman. And similarly, what is indicated by the term Lord or God are all the same. The same entity is given three different names. Lord or God, then Brahman, then the Atman. The Self, the individual Self, the universal Self, and God. All are synonyms, without any distinction, no difference at all. It is the unchanging consciousness which is given these three or four names, which is the witness of the gross experiences of the senses during the waking state, the subtle experience of the mind during the dream state, and the blissful experience characterized by the absence of the subject-object relationship in the state of dreamless sleep. It is witnessing the experiences. The experiences change. They come and go. The waking state experience is not there in the dream. The dream experience is not there in the waking. Both these are not there in the deep sleep experience. The deep sleep experience is not there in the other two states. But something is there in all the three states, witnessing as though these three kinds of experiences. Yes. And that is the self, and that is Brahman, and that is God. The Vedantic teachers recommend the discipline. Study and discussion are necessary, but that alone is not enough. Some kind of disciplined life is necessary. Practice of discipline, practice of sadhana, we call it. It is necessary. And that is given in a very abstract form, sitting in a solitary place, that you can do somehow. Then freeing the mind from desires, that cannot be done after sitting in a solitary place. That is not an easy thing. You have to practice it for a long period. Through understanding, you cannot suddenly stop all your desires. Don't try to do it also. It's harmful. Yes, understand why we should not have desires. There is no meaning in desire. The desire for an object comes because of ignorance. That there is an object there, and that object is good, it is beautiful, then I should have it, I should possess it. This desire comes only because of this, of seeing something different from the self, and attributing goodness or even badness. In the case of bad things and evil things, you want to destroy them. There is also that also is a desire. The other desire is to possess. This desire is to destroy. Both are desires. Both are bad. Both are caused because of seeing something different from the self. Some reality in the appearance. Like giving reality to the dusk, forgetting the wood. This is the mistake. Know that there is no harm in seeing the dust, but know that it is the appearance of the wood. There is no harm in seeing the objects of the world. Know that they are the expressions of the self, not different from you. Why do you want to possess it if it is not different from you? Do you desire to possess your arm, your leg? Because it is you yourself. You don't desire for it. You don't hate it. Similarly, the whole of the universe is your body, and objects are like limbs of your body. Know this truth. This is the truth. Don't believe it. Have faith in the scriptures. Then, thus thinking and reflecting over the nature of the objects, you can lessen the intensity of your desires gradually, not all of a sudden. Yeah. Then controlling the senses, when the desires are not there, lessened, senses also will not run riot. Yes, they will automatically be controlled. Then we can start meditation. So, sitting in a solitary place, freeing the mind from the desires and controlling the senses, then meditate with unswerving attention on the infinite Atma. Whole time attention, wholehearted attention, 100% attention is required. It is not a part-time job. Sometimes I do sadhana, sometimes I do not. That is not enough. Of course, don't leave that. At the beginning stage, it will be like that. That will purify the mind. All sadhana is to purify the mind. And in a purified mind, the knowledge dawns by itself. A purified mind is the self itself. The next verse says, Atmaneva ahilam drishyam pravilapya dhiya sudhihi bhavayed egam atmanam nirmala agasavat sada. The wise one should intelligently merge the entire objective world. Entire objective world. Whatever you see through the five senses and the mind. The wise one should intelligently, that means through intellect, through wisdom, through knowledge, merge the entire objective world in the self. And constantly think of that self as like the stainless sky. The sky is there. It is stainless. Although clouds may be there, it is not touching the sky. The sky is not tainted by the presence of clouds or dust or smoke. Nothing can touch the sky. Nothing can make it tainted. Though they appear to be in the sky, in the space. Similarly here, through our intellect, we must know that Atman or the self is untainted, does not even touched by anything in this objective world. Nothing touches that. Even space is not touched by the objects, you know that. Though objects remain in space, it is not affected by space. The space is not affected by the objects. Billions of universes remain in space, but the space is not affected. The ether is not affected. It appears as blue, as concave. No blueness is there, no concavity is there. You know this. These are things. Though our eyes report it. Even after knowing it, if you look at the sky, it will be blue, it will be concave. Your eyes say one thing and your intellect says something else. There is a contradiction, but it does not affect you now. Does this seriously affect you? Your intellect saying one thing and your eyes reporting another thing. Why? You have just dismissed it, that it will be like this. Similarly, the appearance of this world is like the appearance of the blueness of the sky. It is not there. Still it appears to our senses. Whenever we open our eyes, we will be seeing this world. When the ears are functioning, you will hear the sound. The nose will smell the sense. But know that they are all the manifestation of your own self. It is as in dream. In dream also it happens like that. But now you know nothing has happened there. These are certain hints or tips to make you think. By hearing this, suddenly you cannot become God-realized souls. No. You have to think about these things. Lead a disciplined life. To do this sadhana. And final result is, as I said, you discover that there is no ignorance, that you have always been that self. Not that you become the self. Now you are a human being. Now afterwards, after doing sadhana, you one day become the self. No, it is not. You realize that you were the self all the time. That alone is. That appears as this vast creation. When you know the nature of the wood, we say this dusk is merges in the wood. It's a figurative expression. You understand what it is. First I thought it was a dusk. Then I understood it is only wood. Where does the dusk go? The dusk as though merges in the wood. Similarly, by knowing that all this world is an expression of that Supreme Being, the whole world as though merges in it. What remains is the self and not the world. What remains here is the wood and not the dust. You follow it? I repeat that example again and again to make you to know that there are no two things here. We are not speaking of two things and identifying one with the other, or making one into other, or transforming one into another. No, we are not doing that. As in the case of the example, though we use two terms, the object is one. Yes? Any doubt? In the example, though we use two terms, wood and dust, the object is one. You cannot separate the dust from the wood, or the wood from the dust. When you forget the wood, you see the dust. When you know that it is wood, the dust disappears. Does it disappear? Does the sky disappear? Similarly here also. Yes. Similarly in the case of the world also, the whole world also. Thus, one should, through the intellect, through understanding, through wisdom, merge the entire objective world in the self. And then, and constantly think of the Atman like this stainless sky. Sky is stainless, but it will appear with clouds, and with the blue color, with concavity, all that will be there. Yes.
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask you, you said that once we realize the truth, the desk would disappear. Or no, it doesn't disappear permanently.
Can you say it disappears? You cannot. Because when you open the eyes, the desk will be there. You understood that there are no two objects here. What is the real object? Is it the desk or wood? Wood. All right. This understanding is enough. Apply that to the world now. What is it? What is it here? World or God? God. But it appears as the world.
So the world never disappears, even when one realizes that God is.
Again, does the world exist other than God, separate from God, to disappear? Does the desk exist separate from the wood to disappear? Yes? Think, Rosal. Does the blueness exist separate from the sky to disappear? You are not worried about the blueness. You are not worried about the dusk. Why do you want to get worried by the world? This body, this mind, all this come under the word world. Let it be there. You be free as the complete one consciousness, as the infinite consciousness. Feel yourself as the whole universe is my body. I am the one eternal being. Repeat that in words. Think that through the mind. Understand it through the intellect. Then start meditation. You will realize it. Yes? Is it clear? The next word says, Rupa Varnadigam Sarvam Vijnaya Paramarthavit. Then Paripurna Chidananda Surupena Avatittati. He who has attained the supreme goal through this knowledge, or it means he who has known that he has all along been the self, not that I was a man for some time, then I did sadhana, then I became the self. It is not that. The dusk does not require any sadhana to become the wood. Does it require? Why? Because it is not there at all. Different from the wood. The dusk does not exist different from the wood. It need not put forth any effort to become the wood. Yes. He who has attained the supreme goal, thus, through this knowledge, discards all such objects as name and form, and dwells as the embodiment of infinite consciousness and bliss. The dusk dwells as the wood. That's all. Through this knowledge. How simple it is, isn't it? It's not simple. When you know it, it is very simple. Too simple. But when you again...
Thinking like this too much difficult.
Thinking is difficult. Thinking like this is difficult.
Why? What is the difficulty? You want to attain liberation. That is why you are here. You are not, scripture says, don't do anything. You are not to do anything. It will tire you. It will cause pain to your mind and body. Nothing. Know this truth. With so many examples, they give you the truth. The example given is simple, isn't it? The wood and the sky and the blueness. He who has attained the supreme goal discards all objects as name and form and dwells as the embodiment of infinite consciousness and bliss. That is to say, merges all these illusory superimpositions in the substratum of Brahman, in the self. Merges as though. Nothing merges, there is nothing to merge. There is no dusk to merge in the wood. There is no blueness to merge in the sky, although they appear to our senses. All that exists is that alone. There is no doubt true for both the illumined and the ignorant. This is no doubt true for both the ignorant and the illumined. And the illumined sage. It is not true only for the sage that the sky is not blue but appears as blue is the same for all people, whether he knows it or he does not know it. For the sage and for the ignorant. Similarly here, this all that exists is really Brahman is true both to the sage and the ignorant. To us also it is true. That is the truth. Don't say it is all for sages. They realize all this. They will see Brahman everywhere. What about us? The truth is not for the sages alone. Truth is for all. There is no doubt for true. This is no doubt true for both the illumined and the ignorant. Yes. But the ignorant, owing to illusion, believe in the reality of names and forms. We believe in the reality of the name dusk. That's all. That will go, that will disappear when you understand that it is wood. So simple. To understand that dusk is wood is not very difficult. We live, even now we live as the infinite consciousness and bliss. But somehow we think the other way, that I am a small, limited human individual, suffering, or enjoying happiness, and suffering unhappiness, and so on. All these are like the thinking that the wood is dust. That's all. Please let me know. I think this time we will stop here. Any question? Any doubt or? Yeah? Hmm?
Mano buddhya sankara cita ninaham na ca skotra jive na ca prana netre na ca vyoma bhumi na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham sachidananda rupa shivoham shivoham na ca prana sango na vai panchavayu na va sabda dhatur na va panchakosha na va panipado na chopastapayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham sachidananda rupa shivoham shivoham na me tvestaragau na me lohamohau madhunaiva me naiva masarya bhava na dharmo na chartho na kamo na moksha chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham sachidananda rupa shivoham shivoham na punyam na papam na sokhyam na dukkham na mantro na tirtham na veda na yajna aham bhojanam naiva bhojam na bhota chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham sachidananda rupa shivoham shivoham na me mritu sanka na me jati veda pita naiva me naiva mata cha janma na bandhu na mitram guru naiva shishya chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham sachidananda rupa shivoham shivoham aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupa shivoham shivoham sachidananda rupa shivoham shivoham Om Namah